dad's running this tractor right now, but basically what we got here is an inline ripper. So what this does is those shanks work deep in the ground, and we like to use this a lot to help break up a lot of the compaction, considering how deep those are. So once you get to the end and it raises up, you'll show, but those are probably at least 6 inches in the ground. So especially for us, we haul manure on the field and stuff with tankers, and those weigh quite a bit, and then drive with silage trucks in the field when we chop and stuff, and all that stuff kind of creates a lot of compaction in the ground. And I've said this before, but what we've learned is that it really helps if you break up that compaction to make sure you get really good crops out of your fields and stuff. So that's just something we're gonna hit all of our fields here. We hauled on this field about, today's Monday, so we hauled on this Friday night, last time we hauled on this. So it's had time to dry up, so we're not spinning and tearing the field up. And so we're gonna work this first, and then eventually we'll come with the finisher and just smoothing everything out, because this gets a couple bumps and stuff, and that's unsmooth. It's not great because there's still a couple spots that are in between the shanks where it's not great for playing into. So I'm gonna take over from him here, and I'll show you as I start working on taking over from him. So before I get back to the tractor, I just want to show you. So this is the bottom part of the shank, and then probably in the ground about up to here. So like I said, probably pretty close to 6 inches and stuff. So Dad's gonna go do some other stuff. We're gonna finish this field, and then down on that end we have the other field that we have down here that we tiled earlier. Now we hauled on it a couple days ago, just like this one, and then we can work on getting it ripped up and ready to go. So I've been working for a little bit, and I just like to explain. So like I said, we let the field dry a couple of days after we haul it. So the reason that we want to do that is if you try to work the field right after you haul and stuff, the manure is still wet, and then when you get into the wet manure, you just spin and tear everything up, like I was kind of saying before. So we just let everything dry out, and so now that everything's dried out here, I don't have it in the highest gear I could be, but basically you could be doing 5.4. That's about the max we go here, and then you can do that pretty easily without spinning too much stuff. If you get into like a spot that has a little bit more compaction, you'll have to go a little bit slower, but otherwise that's what you can do. And like also if you get into a spot that's still a little wet, because there's some spots that got hauled on a little thicker, you also have to like lift the inline ripper out of the ground a little bit, so you're not trying to rip quite through so much. But yeah, otherwise I'm just about done with this field here. I just got to do like some leadlands here, and then like I got 2 more rounds. Yeah, somewhere around there left to do on the side here, and then we'll be moving on to a different field. So I got everything down on that side of the field done here, and I just got to do some headlands on this side of the field here, but I figured I'd stop to show you a rock we found here. So kind of looks like a concrete block almost, but pretty decent sized rocks here. So this is kind of like a low waterway spot here, so we came and dumped some dirt down here a little while ago, and obviously we had a pretty big stone here. So I'm gonna pick this up before you wreck anything and stuff. So like I said, shouldn't take too long to do the headlands there, and then I can hop over and do this other field over here, which that one's pretty small too, so should be able to get this done pretty quick. I'm working in this next field now, just getting started here. So my dad brought his truck down in the trailer. The windows are kind of dirty, so sorry about that. And he's working with the skid loader down on the headlands on the end of this other field. There are some trees and stuff from pulling trees out, branches and stuff that he had to pick up and stuff. But once he's done with that, I'm not really sure what his plan is. But so we're really hoping that this field and that field are going to have pretty good crops this year. We put tile in both of these fields, or that field we put more tile in, and we put all manure on both these fields. So should be doing a lot of things to make it so that these 2 fields should be able to have some pretty good crops this year. So like I said, just need some hopefully good growing conditions, and we should be able to hopefully get pretty good crops out of these 2 fields. This field, and then my dad is going to take back over for me running the inline ripper. Duke and I are going to go back to the farm, and we're going to work on hooking up the finisher, because tomorrow we're going to try to work on working a lot of this with the finisher, so it's gonna rain in a couple of days, but we want to at least get everything worked with the finisher because it's been really dry, so we think there's gonna be a lot of clumps and stuff that are gonna be worked up with the finisher and stuff. So what we want to do is get those worked up, and then we'll work on, once it rains, hopefully if there's any big clumps, those will get like hopefully broke out down by the rain and stuff, so that way after the rain everything can get planted. Luke and I got the finisher hooked up here, so the plan is tomorrow we'll probably go and work a lot of this stuff with the finisher that we worked today with the inline ripper, so that way that should all be ready to go, like I said, when it does rain and stuff. So I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow here. Back working on inline ripping here, so we just got started. I'm just working on doing the first round. So my dad worked on some of this stuff yesterday. He worked on basically everything over there from the tree where those trees are to me to right here. He did yesterday, last night. And then we wanted to let some of this other stuff dry up because it was hauled on more recently than the stuff over there. So we got a little rain this morning, so we'll have to see if all this is gonna work. So far everything I've done has been perfectly fine, but I'll just have to see as we keep working that way, because that stuff is going to be the wettest of ground and stuff, because that was hauled on the latest. That was hauled on like Sunday, which that's Tuesday now, so that's 2 days. So without the rain it probably would have been fine. We'll just have to see how it's going to end up working today and stuff. So I'll keep you guys up to date as I keep working on this. So I came back to the farm and helped my dad with the finisher quick, and he's going to go work on working the ground that we both inline ripped yesterday on the other field here. So he's gonna work that with this, and then I'll go back and work on the stuff I was just at. Just figured I'd give you guys an update of how I'm coming on this field here. So I got one more pass right here that I gotta go this way, and then everything else that's that way is done. And then I got probably, I'd say, about 2 or 3 more rounds till I get to the woods here that we have that splits the field in half. And then I'll have short rows to do over here, and then the short rows on the other side of the woods to do here. So probably won't be able to quite get it all done because this is probably going to take a few more hours yet and stuff. So I guess we'll see how late I want to really go here, but otherwise everything's been going pretty smooth and stuff, so at least you got that. So that's the next day out, and we're over at one of the fields that we're going to rent for the first year here, and we're planting hay and stuff, and we need to get a couple rocks pulled out that were barely above the surface, and then we found out how big they really were. So we found 3 of them that we're going to have to end up pulling up. So the first one's over there, kind of. I can walk through and show you how big. It's about the same size as this one. And then we got this one here. And then we got one more over here too that we got to pull out. When that rock was first in the ground, it showed as much as like I got over here. There wasn't really a whole lot showing like this. And then this is like about a foot by foot maybe here. And then it turned into that. Quite the boulder. So I can show you guys as we pull out the next one. So this is him digging up this last rock I just showing you here. As you can see, like the other 2 that we have piled up over there, she's quite big, quite big. So we're replanting some of this stuff since we didn't realize how big these rocks are going to be, and we ended up planting all this. So we're once he gets the rock out of it, he recovers it, and then we replant it. Since the rock's so big, you can't even pick it up with the bucket. He's just been rolling it down the field here. Now I decided to dig in. Could be a Limp Bizkit song right here. Keep rolling. So the counter for stuff dug out of this field, we've got 1 stump, one boulder, smaller stones that make big stones that look small because of this thing over here, and then we got 2 more big boulders over here, there, and yeah, definitely was not expecting to be digging those up when I woke up this morning, that's for sure. On a side note, while we're out here, I figured I'd just show you that it's been about a week since we planted this, and a lot of it's actually starting to come up, which is good. Haven't really had a lot of rain. It's been really, really dry. We're supposed to hopefully get some rain tomorrow, which would be pretty nice because, like I said, it's been dry. It's hard for stuff like this to start growing and get established when it's bone dry out. So hopefully if we, like I said, get that rain and it's been decently warm out and stuff, this stuff could really start taking off here if we got some moisture in the ground. So that's the next day. My dad is working on trying the field finisher over the last field that we have worked for now. So he's got everything that way done. He's just got to do the short rows here, and then on the other side of the woods that's back there. So it's still really dusty because it hasn't rained yet, but it looks like it should rain pretty soon. And according to the radar and stuff, it is too. So that should be good because, like I said, we could really use rain. It's been so dry and stuff. So as long as he gets this worked and stuff beforehand, we should rain. It can rain and it won't be that bad of a problem. It's quite dusty. So I said earlier that we want to break the clumps up and stuff. That's why we're working it now. And another good thing about working the ground with the finisher here is it helps work the manure into the ground. So that way it doesn't get washed away by the rain or anything. So that's why it helps that if he can get this done quick before it rains. But like I said, he doesn't have a whole lot left here where this should take him like an hour, hour and a half. So hopefully he can get that done before it starts raining quick. Alright, so I'll just wrap the video up here. So this is one of the fields that we own that we got worked up and everything. So sorry about the wind, if you can hear that. It's windy as usual in Wisconsin. But like I said, we got this worked earlier this week. And the guy that we normally have come and plant our corn is going to be here tomorrow. So maybe I'll show some of that in next week's video and stuff. But otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you next week.